Hello, welcome. This is Chapter 1 on Economic Fundamentals. So every economy is composed of specialised services. However, these cannot trade directly, and this is the purpose of money. Money solves the problem of direct trade among economic activity. So money functions as an economic ledger, and different monies can exist. However, individuals will seek to hold the best money. So this allows money to be used. So what does money do? It allows itself to be a medium of exchange within the economy. From there, you can hold the currency as a store of value to use for transactions in the future. And then from there, we can put numerical numbers to this and use it for prices. Use it as a unit for price. Does money itself have an intrinsic value? What do we mean by that? An intrinsic value would be a market desire for the item for a utility use only. Now, this is possible for money to have this, but it's not necessary. Additionally, if it does, this is a flaw in the money itself, as it will limit its scarcity. There's two broad types of money. There's commodity money, it's like gold and silver, and there's purely ledger money, like fiat, dollars, pounds, euros, Bitcoin. There's historical examples of money: African glass beads, Native American wampum. But we need to take a step back and understand money by its properties. So you can imagine anything is money. Maybe the two most important properties it would have is its durability and scarcity. It has to be durable. It has to be able to survive the years itself. Scarcity is the next most important thing. And then all these other properties define the money as well. Fungibility is the ability to exchange one unit for another identical unit. And immutability is the ability for the protocols of that money to be changed. So something like gold is defined by physics and it's in the planet, so there's not much you can change about gold. However, the modern fiat dollar protocol is based on political systems within the Federal Reserve. So historically, gold is naturally chosen as currency because it's extremely durable and is the highest scarcity among what you can find outside of political ledgers, but it's very easily usable all around the world, very acceptable, because you don't have a counterparty risk with the immutability. You don't have issues like that like you would with a political currency. So let's look at why scarcity is so important. We'll take three hypothetical currencies, and in this example, they are equal in all other properties like durability, divisibility. All that's equal, but we're only going to look at a difference in scarcity. And we can talk about stock to flow. That's how we can define scarcity. What that means is we can call it a percentage, and the stock is the current numerical supply of the currency. The flow is how much that supply would increase as a percent. So we're going to look at this in percentage. Three currencies, A, B, and C. A will have an annual supply increase of 6%, B is going to be 2, and C is going to have 0. So then what we're going to look at is, if you hold 1% of this currency A, if it increases at 6% supply a year, over 10 years your 1% of the supply will be decreased to 0.56%. Over 30 years you now only have 0.17%, so you've over 30 years you've shrunk 30% of the supply. And then we can see with currency B, with a 2% inflation, it's taking you down to 0.82 over 10 years, and then 0.55 over 30 years. And of course, if you have currency C with no increase in the supply, if you own 1%, you will always own 1%. And this is one of the most important parts to any currency. and it's what defines a lot of economic dynamics and prices that we'll come to look at. So why are we looking at it like this as a percentage of the supply? Well, because you can think of prices as a numerical term, a purely nominal numerical term, meaning this item is $100. And that means something, but a much more absolute scientific way to look at a price is defined the price as a percentage of the entire money supply. And so when we go back, when you see that your percent of the money supply changes through debasement, you see why that's related to absolute prices. Let's give a real example. So people talk about house prices as $100,000, then increases to 200, then 300. Let's look at them in absolute terms. Take the UK for example, 2000 to 2023. Average price in pounds goes from 75,000 to 285. That's an inflation rate, 6%. We'll look at the same time period, we'll look at the money supply. It's increased in that same time period by 6.2%. So if the money supply is increasing by 6.2% and then the prices are then increasing by 6%, then we take measurements of the absolute price, the price as defined as the percentage of the money supply. We can then see these results. We've got 9.49 times 10 to the power of negative 6% in 2000, and then 23 years later it's 9.67 times 10 to the power of negative 6%. Very, very similar numbers, in contrast to the 75,000 to 285, 290,000. They're not similar numbers at all. Another thing we're going to think about with money is we're going to think about the fact that you live in a country and your country enforces a fiat currency. You're living in EU countries, you've got the euro. You're living in the UK, you've got the pound. Living in the US, you've got the dollar. You're kind of normalised to think this is your currency and that it's just something to do with your nation. Let's think about you're stuck with a currency and the other currencies are forbidden, legally forbidden. But your currency has a supply increase. What that's going to manifest then is that anything that you can access that has a higher scarcity in terms of stock to flow will increase in price relative to the currency. So what's going to happen is people are going to seek to hold that asset rather than the currency. They're going to see this as an illusion that they're gaining through an investment, where what we're looking at is we're just measuring something in an increase in currency. So here's an example. We can put it this way: if we have $3 trillion and we have an average house price of 300,000, if you multiply that money supply by 100x to 300 trillion, house prices then are a function of that in that currency, and they would be approximately 300 times higher. So when we have this money supply increasing each time, it's increasing the amount of money that's available to bid for houses, thus gradually increasing house prices. And this is what you see since 1971. And as mentioned, this has given this an illusion in property investment gains. And it creates a dynamic where there's an investment flow into property rather than holding the currency. So gold is much older money than the modern fiat money born from the 70s. It was used for thousands of years. However, by the modern era of globalization, the flaws of gold become quite apparent. It's not divisible, it's not portable globally. Those banks are developed, and then banks develop bank money to get around these problems, but then you have this issue of fractional reserve. So the bank money was never backed one to one for the gold that it's meant to represent, and this leads to fiat money in the 70s. That's a topic that's going to have its own video. So we're thought about the properties of money. We can understand what we want, what's good, what's not good. So what is the perfect money? Do we have it? We need to think about these properties. What we want is something that's truly scarce, that is no more supply increase. We want the durability to be as good as possible. We want it to be portable, globally, ideally, divisible, fungible, one unit equals another, verifiable and immutable. We don't want the protocol of this currency to be able to change. So we'll look at examples of what we do have. We've got fiat, and we're using just dollars for this example because dollars has been the best fiat currency in the past 50 years, but it's not the only fiat currency. Gold, Bitcoin, and property. Property isn't a currency, but we've put it here just to see the differences. So first let's look at scarcity, and we're going to measure that again in stock to flow percentage. Dollar is increased by about 6% a year, historically, and this number is not fixed for the future. So we rate that as a D. Gold's about 1.5% historically. However, future, this is an elastic number. This can change based on mining. Bitcoin going forward, 0.8%, but that's on a fixed exponential decay towards zero. And property, depending on what country you're looking at, can be between 1 and 3%, and that's elastic. So here, we see Bitcoin wins on that with an A rating. And then you can see durability, portability, divisibility, fungibility, verifiability, and immutability. You can view this yourself and you can see, understanding that you want to own the money that's best on these properties. You can think about this and then you can come to your own conclusion. So to conclude this, money is a market product. It can be like gold, it can be a political product like fiat money. However, naturally the market will want to hold the best money asset. And the idea of banning currencies and capital controls will always lead to a desire to hold the most scarce asset. Thanks for watching. This is part 1. There will be follows up to this, and please subscribe for videos among economics, investing, pensions, Bitcoin, and science. Thanks very much.